Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Undergraduate webinar series, an interactive online platform connecting high school students to the Ashoka community. Thank you all for joining us today for our webinar on the undergraduate program, Undergraduate Admissions and Financial Aid, Get an Edge on your Ashoka application. My name is Himi Burgaista, and I work with the Office of Outreach at Ashoka University. Joining me today are Marcia Prince, Director, Office of Admissions, and Jayati Bhatia, Assistant Director, Office of Financial Aid at Ashoka University. Together, we will be addressing some of your queries on the Ashoka undergraduate admissions process and the fee waivers and science scholarships available to students. Before we begin, I would like to inform our audience that the deadline to apply in round 3 of Ashoka's undergraduate program is 12th April 2024. You do not have to wait for your 12th board marks or CUET to apply. Now, without further ado, let's get started. I would request our audience to kindly type any questions they might have in the Q&A box provided on their Zoom screen. We will address them towards the end of the session. I'll hand it over to Marcia now.
Thank you, Himi. Good evening, everybody. So what I intend to do today is talk to you a little bit about Ashoka, the education at Ashoka, how that ties into the admissions process, and what you can expect through that process if you don't know about it already. And then, of course, we will take some questions and answers towards some of the questions and try and answer them towards the end. So let me share my screen and walk you through. There we go. All right. So as you know, Ashoka is a university. It's a liberal arts and sciences or a liberal education university focusing on natural sciences, social sciences, humanities. It's in a very multicultural and diverse residential space. So it's a fully residential program. And, so we have various departments for our undergraduate programs. And I just want to give you a little bit of a flavor of what to expect in the undergraduate program, in the course, before I walk you through the admissions process. So as I begin, okay. So what can you really expect in the Ashoka education? It's a holistic and transformative education, and that's what we're hoping you will take from this education should you find yourself at Ashoka. So primarily, the way the education is designed, it's a 4-year BA or BSc honors, and it has a research component. If you stay for the 4 years, there is an option to exit at 3 years, and we can take some questions on that if you have any later. But this is based on the National Education Policy that has come out recently. So it's a 4-year program. So you can expect to spend 4 years. The way the curriculum is set up is you can explore and design your own curriculum. So you get to explore a various number of courses and then, of course, decide what you want to major on. You only have to declare your major at the end of the third semester. So even though you do put something in your application form about the major that you want to pursue, you still have the opportunity to change that. The Ashoka education is multidisciplinary. You will hear this word a lot, along with the next word, which is interdisciplinary, which means that you'll get to explore a range of different disciplines. You may be really passionate about one or two, but you get to actually explore a breadth of disciplines, right? And then, of course, you see how they interact with each other. So it's interdisciplinary. We believe that no particular discipline stands alone. Everything is connected to everything. And so you not only get breadth, but then you also get depth, and you also have this, you get to study subjects in light of other subjects, right? So you see how they talk to each other and how they interact with each other. So given this, given this format of education, all your courses will require you to do a large amount of critical thinking, like to be able to think for yourself, right? To be able to look at anything and look at it from multiple perspectives. But in order to do that, you would have to do a fair amount of academic reading, research, writing, and then, of course, there's a focus on communicating that, right? Whether you communicate through papers, whether you communicate through projects, right? So in light of that, there's also a lot of collaboration and teamwork and working together with your classmates, with your peers. And through that, what happens is that you end up learning a lot from each other as well. Given that the university student body is diverse and growing, right? You get to learn a lot from your peers. You spend more time with your peers because it's residential. You don't necessarily only spend time in a classroom, right? And so there's a lot of learning that happens within the peer group as well. The way the academics is set up, it's set up for you to be able to, look at your text, look at the world around you, look at yourself, and then see what problems we need to solve in the world. It could be of any kind. It could be economic problems. It could be financial. It could be philosophical. It could be sociological. It could be, researching on historical aspects. And then, maybe it could be in the space of physics or chemistry. Regardless of what the discipline is, the education that's offered at Ashoka is problem solving, it's innovative, and it has a focus on social impact. And then, of course, it's a residential program. So you also have the opportunity to do a lot of extracurriculars, get to know yourself, explore a lot of things that are probably new for you as well, and focus on community life, learning to live together, learning to know yourself better, know others better, and also to serve the community and whatever community means for you, right? So essentially, it's a holistic and transformative educational experience. In light of this, very quickly, an overview of what the program looks like. Your undergraduate degree is going to have all these components, right? It's, like I said, a 4-year program, BA BSc Honors or BA BSc Honors with Research. That's what you'll get with the 4 years. If you leave at 3 years, you'll get a BA or BSc Honors, depending on what you major in. So everybody does mandatory foundation courses, and I'll tell you what they are in just a minute. And then you choose your major. So you have your mandatory courses toward your major. If you choose to do a minor, you have a specific number of courses toward your minor. You also have some space to do electives or a concentration in a particular discipline. You have mandatory co-curricular courses that you have to do. And of course, now there are mandatory internships as well, which are credited, which you would need to do under the National Education Policy. And then there's the research component, should you be interested in research and taking that forward. Okay. These are the mandatory foundation courses. There are 9 of them. And as you can see, you can read these for yourself, but Introduction to Critical Thinking, great books, Principles of Science, Quantitative Reasoning and Mathematical Thinking, Literature in the World. So essentially, they're across different disciplines, and everybody does this. So you start out in your first semester by doing foundation courses. You don't jump into your major immediately. From your second semester onward, you can gradually, continue to do the remaining of these and also start doing courses toward the major that you would like to sort of explore. Here's a quick look, and I'll give you 30 seconds to look at this. You can do pure majors. So these are all the departments that we have. We recently added international relations, so that's something you can look at as well. We have interdisciplinary majors. So those are where 2 disciplines come together, right? So you can see the list there. Of course, minors, there's a list of minors here, but you can also choose any of the pure majors to do as a minor. So the options are a lot. So for example, you could do major in physics, right? And you could do a minor in media studies, or you could do a minor in philosophy. So hopefully, you could just pick and choose whatever you want, depending on what you're interested in. And then we have some credits for co-curricular courses, for which there are certain courses here that I mentioned. And then, of course, there are the mandatory internships that have been added, where you would have to do at least 2 credits for internships and a maximum of 4 credits, which will be shown on your transcript. There's a little section at the bottom there which talks about mandatory requirements for mathematics for some majors. You can look at it here. You can also look at it on the website, but I won't go into it. But just for you to know where mathematics is going to be really important and crucial for you. So moving on, in light of this, if you can see, this is the admissions calendar. We started in October. We opened forms in October. We've already completed 2 rounds. So if you're here on this Zoom meeting and you're looking to apply now, your deadline that you need to keep in mind is 12th April, which is coming up soon, in just a couple of weeks, and 21st April, which is the day of the assessments, right? And I'll talk to you a little bit more about the process, but 12th April is what you're looking forward to, and I hope you start working towards that. Your decisions will be out on 14th of June. So we're done with rounds 1 and 2. We're currently in round 3. Okay. So this is really the admissions process in a nutshell, and then I'll go into a little bit of detail. So we have one admission cycle, we have multiple rounds, and it's a repetitive process, right? In every round, stage 1 is where you fill a very comprehensive application form, you submit it, you write your mandatory Ashoka assessments, and then you do a holistic then we do a holistic evaluation of the assessments and the application form. Once we've done our evaluation, you can be shortlisted for the interview round, or maybe some of you will fall off at that stage, which would be unfortunate. But in the interview round, it's a mandatory interview of a panel of either 1 or 2 people. It's a academic and personal interview. So it's a conversation, but it's also to get to know you out of things that you mentioned in your application form. And also in general, we're checking to see, your suitability to Ashoka, and Ashoka's academic program and residential life program that we have. Then the committee does a holistic evaluation of candidates, post which they declare decisions. And then the financial aid form is open for students who get offers of admission. So my colleague Jyoti will talk to you a little bit more about that in just a bit, but about the financial aid aspect. But this is in a nutshell what's going to happen for you as well, right? So first is the application form. And so let me give you some general guidelines for you to remember if you're just starting out on the process. So the admission cycle, like I mentioned, runs from October last year to August this year, right? So you're in round 3. You can only submit one application form. So if you've submitted an application form in rounds 1 and 2, you won't be, your application won't be considered. So we also don't consider applications that are plagiarized or where the applicant has not filled the application on their own, where it's okay to get help, right? But if an application is copied, pasted, or aspects of the application are copied, pasted from other spaces without giving any credit, then they won't be considered. So use a personal email address, not a school or office or official email address. Keep something that you'll have for over the next few years, right? A personal email address. Fill your application form by yourself. Give yourself enough time. Normally, I would say 2 to 3 weeks. You have around 2 weeks if you haven't started yet. But start looking at the application form. It is pretty comprehensive and detailed, and so you would need to spend considerable amount of time on it. On the website, you can go through the section that talks about aspects that would make your form not eligible or incomplete. So be mindful of those things. So for that, you need to fill all the sections with correct details and valid attachments. There are help boxes throughout the application form. So you'll see a lot of help. Of course, you can also email us, and I'll give you details on that in just a bit. But please use the help boxes. Make sure that you get whatever support you need to fill in your form correctly and thoroughly, right? Get help from someone you trust to check and review your application, someone that you're comfortable reading all parts of your application. And then, of course, once you've submitted your application, remember that you've got to take your mandatory Ashoka assessment on April 21st, okay? So this is what you'll find on the application form. So these are the sections in the application form. So you have personal and family details. They're quite detailed. I've been told by some students that they've gotten to know things about their family while filling the application form because they've actually had to talk to, their guardians or parents or siblings and find out some details about them. And I'll tell you why we ask these questions in just a bit. But there's the personal and family details. There's a section on school academics, which are very important. And then there's a section on standardized tests. If you have taken, it's not a mandatory section, but if you've got some standardized tests, we give you the opportunity to put that up there. Then we focus a little bit on your non-academic engagements, right? What have you done outside of your academics? Since Ashoka is quite heavily research-based, there's a lot of reading and writing. We are keen to know your reading interests, so there's a section for that. There's personal essays, so there are 2 essays that you need to write. There's a non-mandatory but highly recommended letter of recommendation that you can submit in support of your application form. Then there are some questions on about you. How did you get to know Ashoka? What course you may want to, what courses or what majors you may want to, choose when you need to declare your major. And then, of course, there's a section on support. Some of these sections have got mandatory attachments if you pick those, or if there's something that you need to attach. So please make note of those as well. So very quickly, what do each of these sections do for us, right? So the personal and family information that we ask of you really gives us insights into the candidate or the applicant, that is you, your life, your background, your context, because we want to evaluate you within your context, right? We want to get to know you as much as we can and understand you as much as we can. And you have got to remember this, that these are the people who are reading you may or may not ever meet you. So your application form is really a window, probably the only window we get to getting to know you. So please fill that in as thoroughly as possible. There are some official documents you would also have to provide, like identity proof, passport size photograph. So just look at the requirements, fill them properly. I would say if there are non-mandatory sections that you can fill where you have something to say, please go ahead and fill it. Don't just only fill the mandatory section, right? So that'll just give us more information. The more information you give us, the better it is for you and for us, right? Academic scores we take are from classes 10th to 12th, so 10th, 11th, 12th. So we require you to submit your scores, so make sure you write them correctly and attach the right documents. In the absence of class 12 scores, which many of you will not probably have at this point, we ask you to submit self-predicted scores. We also give you an option for school-predicted scores if your school has a counselor or teacher, or they do offer that, but otherwise self-predicted scores will suffice. But for IB and Cambridge boards, we do require you to submit your school counselor will submit the score. So you just need to fill in their details, it goes to them, and then they are able to submit it to us. So ensure that you fill the name of your subjects and scores correctly as found in your documents. In the standardized section, we do ask for SAT, ACT, and CUET scores. They're not mandatory. We'll accept them. We'll use them as part of our evaluation if you do submit them, but they're not mandatory. So please don't worry about them if you don't have any of those. Even if you do take the CUET, your scores will come out only much later. If some of you are gap year students, please apply. If you have a CUET score from last year or an SAT or ACT score, please go ahead and put that in if you think they're good scores and you want us to know those as well. Okay. Non-academic engagements, and this is where I think a lot of students sometimes wonder, because you may have done a lot of things, right? So you are thinking, how do I prioritize this? To be honest, we've given you a spot only for 3. So we want you to prioritize. We're not going to prioritize for you. So you prioritize what matters to you and you tell us 3 engagements, activities, passions, hobbies, whatever it is that you're doing, right? Put down the details and put attachments or collateral, whatever you may have. So these could include personal interests, leadership positions, awards, competitive level activities, hobbies, internships, community service, and whatever else you want to, right? Wherever you've sort of competed and you may have some awards or some evaluation has happened, please provide some certificates and collateral. For school, within school, like for inter-school level participation and above, or for leadership positions, we want to ensure that you would want to ensure that you submit certificates and collateral. Pictures as well, if you've got photographs, you can combine them into one PDF document and then put them. Please don't put a series of like 25, 30 documents. Pick the top ones, pick the ones that have really had an impact, or ones that have really mattered to you, or the highest level of engagement, and then put those, right? We don't want you to attach your resume or any sort of collation over 3 certificates. Okay, so for reading, the reason we want to know about your reading, like I mentioned, is, because Ashoka is so heavy on like reading and writing and research, reading allows us to also, this aspect of the form allows us to understand your own comfort with reading, what you enjoy reading outside of school, what genres are you reading or exploring. They could be fiction, nonfiction, they could be, certain specific topics that you like reading about. So whatever it is, we want you to list down 3 books with their author names, which are mandatory. There are 2 additional books that you can mention, and if you can, that would be great. Like 5 is always better than 3. So go ahead, don't limit yourself to only 3. But because if you are a reader, please tell us, and then you can pick across genres as well. It just gives us a good idea about what your interests are. If you're reading things related to a subject that you like, but you're reading non-textbooks, non-school textbooks, please put that down as well, just to give us an idea of what you're reading. Okay, so very quickly, the essay section, there we have 2 mandatory prompts for this year that you're required to address. So one is, I'm not going to get into the prompts, but the first one, you can look at them here, but the first one is really about, we want to know how you think. It's primarily, we want to get to know how you think and what you really care about. So we've asked you about a social issue. So think about a social issue that you care about, and then tell us what sort of research you've done on that, right? We don't want generic answers. We don't want ChatGPT answers or AI, generated answers. We want you to tell us. We want to discuss it with you. We want to understand your interests, right? There are no right or wrong issues, no right or wrong answers. We really want to know what your view is and how you may have contributed toward it. So it's personal, but it's also sort of research-based, because we want to know how you think and how you dealt with these things. And it's 400 words, right? So please don't write 100 words or 200 words. You may not be able to write more than 400, but between 350 to 400 words is good. So we really want you to use that space well. This is a very important part of your application form. Your second prompt is personal. And I just want to say here that we keep your application forms confidential. So if there's anything that you want to share with us, anything that you want us to know, something that has significantly changed your life or shaped your life for good, or even if it has been something tough or challenging, if it helps us understand you better, please do go ahead and put it there. Moving on quickly, the letter of recommendation. It's, like I said, it's optional, it's not mandatory, but please ensure that this is from somebody who knows you, but in an academic or professional capacity, right? Maybe somewhere you've done an internship, or maybe a counselor in school or a teacher. It's highly recommended. Somebody who can add value to your application form, someone who can tell us more about you, right? So you just need to put in their details and they need to submit it. So follow up with them and make sure they submit it within the deadline. All details of the deadline are mentioned already on the form and in the section. So have a look at that. Please don't have a relative or some family member fill this up, because they won't be counted, right? So it'll have to come from somebody and they'll have to fill it up themselves directly. We won't accept them over email. So it'll have to be in the form and through the form, through the link that you sent to them. So be mindful of the email ID and things that you need to be mindful about. Just ensure that they can add value to your application form. It's a very important aspect. It's somebody who knows you way better than we know you, right? And so what they can add to it will be far more than what we may get to know. So it's an important aspect. If you don't have a recommender, we won't hold it against you. So don't worry about that, okay? Then there's a survey section. We ask you a few things in the survey section, which you can have a look at, but we also ask you about your preferred majors. So in this, you've got to pick the top 3 majors, right? So your first preference, your second preference, and your third preference. This is just indicative. It's just for us to know what your interests are. It will come up in the interview, but you can change your mind, right? Because you only have to finally declare your major at the end of the 3rd semester, should you get into Ashoka, right? And should you choose to join, okay? I want to spend a minute on this slide. This is an important slide for us. It's just the support that you would need. So many students, many among you probably also might have some special, either conditions or special needs, or you might need some special attention. And we want to sort of support that from the start, like from the time of your application and admissions. So, if there's anything, whether it's a disability, whether it's a learning or locomotor or visual or hearing impairment or speech or language, or, any sort of assistance you may need, or a physical health issue or mental health condition, or anything that might require some support, please tell us about it so that we are mindful and we're able to support you and help you. And as far as the admissions process is concerned, some of that might require additional support, right? Maybe you're already getting some additional time in school for a learning or cognitive disability or an impairment or a scribe, for example. So whatever it is that you need, please fill it so that we can actually assist you. We do offer some of this support during the admissions process, especially during the assessments. So please take this part seriously. There's a section at the end of this. There's a small part at the end of this section which also allows you to write if there's any sort of circumstance in life or a situation that has led to some educational, social, or economic disadvantage. So if there's something that has happened in life that you think has hindered you or your education in any sense, and from moving forward, so please mention that. We'll be mindful of it and we'll keep it confidential. We'll also see the best way that we can help you within the larger selection process. So moving on quickly, once you submit your application form, there are mandatory assessments. So there's an on-the-spot essay. It's for 30 minutes. It's an essay format. There's no word limit. You'll be given 2 prompts. You pick one, and then you write. It evaluates the following parameters. So engagement with the prompt, critical thinking, clarity of thought, your ability to articulate and communicate ideas, basically present some sort of a cogent argument. You don't have to prepare for this. The prompts are very generic. You can read the prompts, understand it, and then have a view on it, right? And then maybe think a little bit and then write your response. So, and then there's the Ashoka aptitude assessment. I must say that it's for 90 minutes. There are 40 questions. So it's multiple choice, but you will have to spend some time looking at each of the questions, read them carefully, ensure that you understand them, and then use your powers of reasoning, right? So just your critical thinking, your logical reasoning, your ability to think is what we are evaluating, your ability to think for yourself, your ability to problem solve on the spot, right? So there is numerical and spatial reasoning. Of course, like I said, critical thinking, and we will use mathematical concepts that you would have studied till class 10. So please make a note of that as well. If you have any concerns, you can email us. But I'm just want to give you a heads up that you would have to, you don't need to prepare for it, but in general, this is just checking for your aptitude. So whatever you've studied so far, whatever you've learned, just your ability to think, right? So it's a total of 120 minutes. There's a 5-minute break in between, so it's 125 minutes actually, and there's very minimal preparation required. There are some sample questions and prompts on the website, so if you want to look at that, you may. Okay, so moving on very quickly. We shortlist. Based on this, there is a very thorough evaluation of your application form and your assessments, and candidates are shortlisted for a mandatory interview, and then interview invitations are sent where you can pick your preferred slot. All communication will be sent to you. The interview, again, is mandatory. It aims to understand, and get to know you in your context. So it's personal. It's also so it's sort of like a conversation. It's based on your application form. It's also academic. So we really want to try and understand you and your suitability to Ashoka. Okay. So once you've done the interview, if you've made it to the interview round and you've done the interview, you will get a decision from the admissions committee on the decision deadline. So you may get a firm offer of admission, you may get a conditional offer, or you may be put on a wait list. Your decision may be deferred if they want to know what your class 12 scores are and to reevaluate later, or you might be denied admission. If you do get a firm offer of admission, financial aid form is open for you soon after, immediately, which my colleague Jyoti will take over and talk to you a little bit about that. But it's only for students who have been given a firm offer of admission. So the admission part is done, and then you can move on if you get an offer to applying for financial aid, our need-based financial aid, and then so on. And then we take it forward from there. Okay, I just have a couple of things that I want to quickly say before I wrap up, is that what exactly are we evaluating, right? So within the admissions process, we're evaluating candidates for just their fit to Ashoka and your potential. your academic potential, your potential to do well. We want to ensure that if you come to Ashoka, that you do well and you have a meaningful and transformative experience, right? So we are gauging through all of this, through your application form, through your assessments, through your interview, through every aspect. We are looking to see if you're curious, if you're academically rigorous, if you're focused, if you have some amount of awareness of yourself, of the world around you, if you're in general, if you are engaging, right? If you're not just, we find that if you are only focused on memorizing and getting high scores and high marks in school, that might be a bit challenging for the Ashoka admissions process. But if you take whatever you get in school or in whatever you're learning and you just engage with that, right? And you really know what you're passionate about, what you like, what you don't like, and you're taking time out and your own interest to really explore, I would say that, this would be a great opportunity for you to further discover yourself and also hopefully learn at Ashoka. We're also checking to see, of course, your commitment, your grit, your drive. What are you passionate about? What have you been doing outside of school, within school? And then, of course, how well are you engaging with anything that's happening in your life, right? Are you somebody who's really learning from life and things around you that are happening? What is your attitude, and are you able to communicate that to us in through various sense? And finally, just to close, I just want to say that all of this entire admissions process that I've talked about is based, it's very individual and focused and is based on your context. So everyone's context is very different, right? No two people's context is the same, even if they might be twins growing up in the same home. They'll have their own personal context that will be different. So we want to evaluate you within your context. And of course, if there are any sort of disadvantage, we want to ensure that we are able to do some affirmative action and we have a strong focus to offer that based on any sort of social, personal, family, medical, geographical, educational concerns, anything that you might have, we want to offer that. So this is our holistic admissions process. So if you have any questions about the admissions aspect of it, please email our outreach team at ugapply@ashoka.edu.in, or our website on the admissions pages have got a lot of information. Remember, the 12th April is the deadline. So please try and submit your application form if you're considering this round. And then ensure that you sit for your assessments right after. Okay, thank you. I'll just hand it over to Jayati. Jyoti is my colleague from the Office of Financial Aid, and she'll walk you through the financial aid process at Ashoka.
Yeah, thank you so much, Marsha. That was very insightful and a lot of information we got to know about the admissions process. Hello and good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining us for this webinar today. My name is Jayati Bhatia and I work with the Office of Financial Aid at Ashoka University. So today I'll be talking about the philosophy behind need-based financial aid at Ashoka University, the impact of this need-based program, and taking you through the main sections of the financial aid form, and lastly talking about the timelines that when you can apply for financial aid. So talking about financial aid at Ashoka University, well, as the largest collective philanthropy in education in India, our aim is to ensure that quality education is available to all. And what we believe is that when a student gets selected to study at Ashoka, they should all have an equal chance to succeed academically at Ashoka because they have already been through a very rigorous and holistic admissions process. However, we do acknowledge that financially, everyone may not be at the same level and they may not be able to afford the fees either in part or in full. So therefore, we have this program, which is based on our ability to pay rather than your academic standing. So it tries to create a level playing field for all students so that once they get selected, they all should have an equal chance to study at Ashoka, and their ability to pay should not become a hindrance in joining Ashoka. Now, if I talk about the impact of this need-based program, well, if I add up all the numbers since the beginning, then almost 4,500 plus students have been benefited from this program. They have either paid only a part of the fees or did not pay any amount of fee. And of the resources that have been pulled in together, almost 510 crore rupees went into funding education for these students. Well, this is an amount which has been unheard of in our country, going only towards need-based financial aid. So therefore, if we look at any batch and any set of students who are currently studying at Ashoka across all the programs, nearly 50% of them are on some form of aid. And as we're talking about the generous financial aid program at Ashoka University, we have also published our income grid, which is available on the financial aid page on the website. So, which typically means that if your parents are salaried employees and if they're earning anywhere, say between 1 lakh per month to 1.5 lakh per month, then they are eligible to receive 100% waiver on tuition fee to 100% waiver on tuition fee and residence cost. So, talking about the generosity, well, I would like to say that please do not think that since the fees is too high, you should not apply for financial aid. Please do apply for financial aid. We have a very generous financial aid process at Ashoka University. And talking about the financial aid options which we provide, well, financial aid is not a single or a binary yes or a no, that yes, you will get financial aid or no, you will not get financial aid. If you qualify for financial aid, you can get anywhere between a 25% waiver on your tuition fees to a full waiver on all the costs, which will include your tuition fees, residence fee, essential services cost, and your meal cost. So therefore, financial aid is not a single or a binary yes or a no. It is actually a gradient or a range. And on an average, 60% of our students who qualify for financial aid, they nearly get about 5 to 6 lakhs waiver per annum on the tuition fees. Now, talking about who can apply for financial aid, well, anybody can apply for financial aid. There is absolutely no limitation in applying. There is only one logistical step involved, which is that you can only fill in the financial aid form once you receive a firm offer of admission. So once you get a firm offer, a link will be available on your student dashboard, and you have to just click on the link and you can start applying for financial aid. So there is no cost involved in applying for financial aid. Only a bit of your time is involved. Now, in our experience, we have seen that once the candidate has all the information and all the documents ready with them, they can submit and finish the financial aid form within a 1 or 2 day window. And as the financial aid form requires details of the families, so it's very important that students should involve their parents or guardians when they are filling the financial aid form. Now I will take you through the main sections of the financial aid form. So if you can see the screen right now, we have 4 main sections in the financial aid form. The first main section is the personal and family details section. So in this section, we ask details related to where you live, where you have studied, your family details, your sibling details, and the occupation and designation of your parents or guardians. The next main section is the earning members section and business or professional details section. So in this section, we ask for income details of the family members, your earning family members, and business details if anybody in your family is involved in a business or they are a self-employed professional. The third section is the wealth and expenses section. So in this section, we ask for details related to all the assets and investments which your family possess and all the fixed expenses which your family incurs in a financial year. And last and the most important section is the comments section. So in the comments section, you have a chance to explain, why you want to apply for financial aid and any other context which you want to share with us. That suppose, one of your family members was earlier working and then now they are out of job, or there was a business and there were some losses, or any kind of, medical expenses which have been incurred. So any other, situation or family circumstance which you want to share with us, which you feel that, we should know, which will help us in better evaluation of your financial aid application form, please do mention that in the comment section, because all our assessment is based on the information which you share with us. So if you feel there is any important point which you need to share with us, this is the section where you can mention everything in detail about your family background. Now, coming to a few important points which you should keep in mind when you're filling the financial aid form. First and foremost is that you can see these 2 email IDs on your screen, which is admissions@ashoka.edu.in and financialaid@ashoka.edu.in. So it's very important that you add these two email addresses to your mailbox so that any emails which are shared, from these addresses do not go into your spam folder or they are not missed at your end. The other important thing to keep in mind is that we have a specific window to apply for financial aid, and your financial aid form will open the day you receive a form offer of admission. So it's very important that you keep that window or that timeline in mind. And in case you have any queries, any concerns, when you are filling in the financial aid form, you have this email ID, which is shown over here, financialaid@ashoka.edu.in. So please feel free to reach out to us on this email ID. Another important point to note is that we have a sample financial aid form which is uploaded on the website. So we would encourage you all to please go through the website, look through the sample financial aid form, and start arranging and procuring all the mandatory documents which are required, like ITRs and bank statements, loan statements. And if anyone in your family is involved in a business, then you would be also needing their business ITR, business bank statements, and financial statements. So please start procuring all these documents because you will only get a 5-day window to apply for financial aid. So it's good that if you have all your documents and information ready beforehand, and when the form goes live, you just need to fill in all those information. And at that point of time, you're not in the process of procuring all these documents. And while you are in the process of procuring these documents, you have any questions, you can reach out to us. And lastly, once you have, submitted, like you finished your application, it's very important to click on the submit button. So as and when you click on the submit button, an acknowledgement mail will be sent to your email ID. So just check for that acknowledgement mail and only then be assured that your financial aid form has been submitted. Coming to the most important question, that when you can apply for financial aid. So as we mentioned that your financial aid form will open the day you receive your offer of admission. So for all round 3 students, the decision notification for admissions will go out on 14th of June, 2024. And that is the same day that your financial aid forms will also open. And your financial aid deadline will be 19th of June, 2024, 5 p.m. So please keep this date in mind. You will have a 5-day window to apply for financial aid, and ensure that you have all your documents ready. And also please do ensure that you involve your parents or guardians when you are filling in the financial aid form, because we ask for a lot of financial information and financial details, which only your parents or guardian will be able to help you in filling out the form. So please make note of this email ID, which is financialaid@ashoka.edu.in. Please feel free to write to us if you are starting to procure the documents, and in case you have any concerns related to ITRs, or if you're filling in the form from a country outside India and you do not know that in place of an ITR, what other document you can attach, you can just email to us and we will assure you the best way to figure out what other documents you can submit in case an ITR is not available. And please make a note of this website, which is www.ashoka.edu.in/admissions/financial aid. So you can get all your financial aid related information on this link. So thank you, everyone. Now I will hand it over to Himi for the Q&A session.
Thank you so much, Jayati and Marsha. Now let's get on to the questions. Since we just wrapped up with financial aid, perhaps I'll just start off with some financial aid questions that have come in. Yes, sorry. Yeah, is a Haryana domicile given preference for admission or financial aid into Ashoka? And also, if in case you get enrolled, is it possible to receive a fully funded scholarship?
Shall I just take the admission bit, Jayati, and then
Yes.
you can step in? So, we are in Haryana, our universities in Haryana. We have, we come under the Haryana Private Universities, Haryana State Private Universities Act. So we do give we do look at Haryana domicile. If you have a domicile residency certificate, we look at those applications much more closely, because we do have some criteria that we need to fulfill with the government. Having said that, as far as admissions is concerned, we follow the same process. And so we don't, the impact of the domicile on admissions is the impact of the Haryana domicile is more on financial aid. On admissions, we look at it in light of their overall performance, and we do have an eligibility bar. And if they don't meet that, then admissions is not guaranteed, right? So we do look at admissions considering your academic merit, your non-academic parameters, your performance and assessments, and everything else. So it's the same process. Of course, we do look at it with some leniency, because we do have some criteria to fulfill. But having said that, the impact is more financial aid, and Jyoti can just tell you what that would be.
Right. So if you possess a Haryana resident certificate, then you are eligible to receive a 25% waiver on your tuition fee as a fee concession. For that, you need to share your Haryana resident certificate and the latest ITR of your parents. And and apart from that, if you apply for financial aid and if you do qualify for financial aid, then you can definitely get a higher percentage of financial aid. And in that case, that will be applicable. But by default, if you have the resident certificate, then you will be eligible for a 25% waiver on your tuition fees, right?
Thanks, Jayanti and Marcia. Another important question is financial aid and scholarship the same? This comes in often. And also, is ITR the only basis for calculating income?
Okay. So financial aid and scholarships are not the same. Financial aid is truly dependent on the financial standing of your family, whereas scholarship is dependent on the merit of a student. So we have Sciences Merit Scholarship at Ashoka University, wherein any student who is interested in pursuing a science major or a computer science major, and sciences includes your biology, chemistry, physics, mathematics, and computer science. So if you are interested in pursuing any of these science majors at Ashoka and you need to qualify a certain score in your class 12 boards with a annual family income of less than 40 lakhs, then you do qualify for this merit scholarship. Whereas financial aid is completely different. You will get an option to apply for financial aid as and when you get an offer of admission. So there is no criteria in getting you selected for financial aid. Anyone can apply for financial aid, typically to say. Whereas in merit scholarship, since we have a criteria, we shortlist students basis that. And talking about is ITR the only criteria to calculate income? Well, ITR is a proof of income, which we would want you to submit when you are applying for financial aid. But income is not the only criteria we consider while we are granting financial aid. We look at your family's overall financial standing. Hence, we ask for details like your fixed expenses or the kind of investments or savings you have. And you also ask about other dependents in the family. What are your siblings doing? So it's a holistic assessment of your family's financial standing. But we do require ITR because it's a proof of income for your family.
Thank you. Thank you, Jake. One question coming your way, Marcia, is are there advantages to applying in the earlier rounds or round 3 than in round 4?
I wish you'd asked this earlier. I would have said rounds 1 and 2, but round 3 much better than round 4. So the sooner the better. It's always been like that. And I'll just say this because we do have limited number of seats. And actually, to be honest, we have limited number of beds. So it's a residential program. We need to ensure that, we get the right number of students. We ensure that they have a proper residential experience as well. And so that's why we do request students to apply early. And if they do get a firm offer, of course, in the latter rounds, what happens is we end up putting students on a wait list because if we're not able to, if we don't have the available seats, so that would be. So if you might be put on a wait list if there are no available seats. But I think for now we're okay. So this round is good.
Thank you, Marcia. Another question is, what does admission without 12 board marks mean?
So very quickly, we give you admission into Ashoka University, right? And we have various criteria that we're looking at. I walked you through the entire criteria, like the application form, and various aspects of the application form, academic, non-academic, your essays. And then we look at the Ashoka assessments that you've done as well, right? And then there's the interview. So there are various aspects, and all of them have important weightage and value. Why we can give you an offer without class 12 marks is because most of you are not going to have it till at least June, July, right? Or late, yeah, I think between June and July, maybe early August, you'll get your scores. So we can't give you your, and we want to give you firm offers. And we can't give you firm offers based on that. We do ask you for predicted scores, but we don't base our offers on your predicted scores. So which means that we are looking at all these other parameters. If we really need your school final scores, your board final scores, that's when sometimes we will either defer your decision or put you in a conditional offer, because that means that we'd like to know how you did in your class 12. Otherwise, it is very possible for you to get an offer of admission without that, because we have all these other parameters that we're looking at. In most universities, public universities that you're probably familiar with, most of the weightage goes to the class 12 score, or now, for example, CUET or a JEE or some sort of an entrance examination. We don't do that. We do holistic admissions. So we look at various aspects of you as an applicant, and which is why all aspects are important. So I noticed some questions asking are my extracurriculars more important, or my academics have more weightage? They're equally important, right? And we're really looking to see if you have the potential, and if you have done sufficiently well. Your academics are important. I'm not going to say that your academics are not important, but on the other hand, they're not the only thing that are important. If you get 98% or 99% or 95% only, but you don't do anything else, right, that may not work in your favor as well. And the flip of that is you may be fantastic in everything else, but you are not keen on, studying, or you're not interested to learn, or academics are really not your thing. That won't work either. So, which is why, if you look at it, all aspects are important. And we are looking for holistic, well-rounded students who will really thrive. And it's because of what I had explained. The education at Ashoka is like that. You really need to be fully engaged for you to succeed and do well.
Thank you, Marcia. There's a question on engineering. Is BTech available? Is there anything that you'd like to expand on this, Marcia?
No, very quickly, I just want to say that we don't have BTech, we don't have law, we don't have BBA. We don't do any professional courses. They don't come under, currently, we don't offer any of those. We only have BA and BSc, right? So we only have BA and BSc honors. And if you do the fourth year, and in the fourth year, if you do the research component, we have a BA or BSc honors with research. That's all we offer. We don't offer any professional or vocational courses. And I don't see that happening in the foreseeable future as well.
Yeah. Thanks, Marcia. Just very quickly, I'll just address this question. Is there any other round after round 3 as well? So there is a fourth, a very, very short round after this. But as Marcia said, there are waitlisted seats after this as well, especially from rounds 3, rounds 4. So it's always, the sooner the better that you apply. But we are pasting the admissions timelines page from the website onto the Q&A and chat box, so that you can refer to it as well. Okay. So this other question, I think Marcia's already answered the question, which is academics and co-curriculars, are they given equal value, or do academics hold equal value, hold more value? So I'm just going to go on to the next one, which is I'm doing a diploma in electronics engineering and I want to pursue higher studies in Ashoka. Am I eligible for BSc in physics?
If you're doing a diploma which is a replacement of class 11th and 12th, from I gather, there are these engineering diplomas which are for 3 years, if I'm not mistaken. What you would need, and what in fact anybody would need, would be equivalent certificate. So if your university can produce a equivalent certificate which says that your diploma is equivalent to your class, to the class 12th examination that is accepted by the Association of Indian Universities, so the AIU, then we'll take it. Otherwise, it will not be eligible, and you won't be able to graduate from an undergraduate degree at Ashoka. So it has to be accepted as a board equivalent. Like, for example, even the IB Cambridge, though they're international boards, they are accepted, or the state boards or CBSE, ISC. And so many of them are already accepted by the Association of Indian Universities. You need to ensure that that's accepted. If it is accepted, then you're free to apply and you can follow the process. Does that answer the question, Amy?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
Yes. There is another question on what is the estimated intake of students, of the number of students in rounds 3 and 4? Is that something we can answer?
So we don't do a particular intake round wise. We have a larger number that we look at for the year, and that's what we're looking at. And that number is also dependent on the quality of applications we get, the kind of students so it's not a fixed number. The way we've done admissions and we continue to do admissions is in every round we get X number of applications. We process them individually, right? Because applications are read, assessments are looked at and graded, interviews are held, and then a certain percentage of students make it. So we don't have the percentage fixed first. So I don't know what's going to happen in round 3, right? We've already completed rounds 1 and 2. If there's a good amount of students who we think will do really well and who make it to our selection criteria, we'll make an offer. The only issue would be if we don't have the number of seats, right? And for that, then we would have to, like I said, put some people on a wait list and then see a little later. But otherwise, we don't have a round wise that these are the students we're taking per round. We just look at it as a whole class because everybody's part of the same cohort then.
Thanks, Marsha. Another question is, what value is added with the 4-year course as compared to 3 years for future opportunities? And related to this, there was a question on if students get placed after the 3rd year as well.
Okay, so very quickly, the 4, and I didn't do this slide because it's a little complex, but I'll just explain to you. We follow a credit system. So the number of credits you do in your 4 years is a lot more than you do in your 3 years. So your 4th year essentially has a lot more, by credits, I mean also a lot more courses. So the course, initially Ashoka was designed to be a 4-year program, but at that point, the University Grants Commission didn't allow us to do a 4-year program. So we made it a 3+1, and students graduated at the end of 3 years. Then they came back for a 1-year postgraduate diploma. Now that doesn't exist anymore. It's a 4-year program. You can leave at the end of 3 years, but your credits would be much less. The 4-year, if you choose to, for example, if you want to apply for your master's in the US particularly, the 4th year is essential because they want 16 years of education before you go for your master's. So that's one benefit. But having said that, even if you don't want to do that, the 4th year has a research component that you can do. So you can publish something, right? It's a 12-credit research paper. So that's something that you have the opportunity to do, which you don't have in 3 years. You also have far more courses and space to explore and do more in-depth courses within your major. So I think these are some benefits. Of course, Ashoka is committed to placing students. And so we will place you at the end of 3 years as well. If you graduate and you indicate that you want to be placed, you can be part of the placement process at the end of 3 years. And you can be part of the placement process at the end of 4 years. I just want to add, because I saw one question on this about internships. So we have this office called the Career Development Office. They are the same office that puts forth companies for internships, where there's a platform, they use a platform, students sign up on it, they get internships through that, they'll get their credits through that for internships, and they're also the same office that looks after the placements. And also, if you want to do your higher education elsewhere, if you need any support, they offer that support as well. So assume you don't want to get placed right after you graduate, but you want to go for your higher ed, that office will also help you. Our career development office will also help you prepare for your postgraduate studies outside of Ashoka, wherever you wish to.
Thank you, Marsha. Another question is, what opportunities do students have to engage with the local community? I'm an international student who would love to integrate and engage with the local culture.
So I think if you're an international student, you have a lot of local culture within campus. So there's a lot of within the university itself, you can engage with a variety and diverse group of students coming from all over. We have students from over 20 countries. We have students from every state in India. So there's a lot of rich and for a lot of socio-economic backgrounds from a range of, stories, right? So you can engage, but also for those who are Indians and who are not international students, there is a village right outside of Ashoka called Asavarpur. And in this village, like from this village, a lot of them work at Ashoka. They are our support staff, there are drivers, there are, they really keep Ashoka going. So our students actually have some clubs where they teach the kids, they work with the women. So there's a lot of stuff that our students, our Ashoka students do within that community. And the community does a lot for us. So there is a very strong interconnection between the Savarpur village residents and, of course, our own students, our own community at Ashoka. So there is. I'm sure there's a lot that students can do for the community.
Now I have 2-3 questions on the financial aid side. One is, which financial year income will be considered? And the second is, sorry, I'm clubbing a couple of questions together, Jayati, because there's so many of them. I want us to answer as many as we can before the time runs out. So the first one is, which financial year income will be considered? And the second is, for a person with a disability or for a candidate with a disability, is there any quota for admission and special financial aid?
Okay, so well, in the financial aid application form, we ask for ITRs for the last 3 financial years, which will be for the year 22-23, then 21-22, and 2020-2021. And in the financial application form, you will be required to enter the income details, which will be for the latest financial year you have the ITRs available. That will be the financial year of 22-23, because we are yet to file our ITRs for the financial year ending 2024. So yes, the latest year ITR will be 22-23. And talking about if there's a special quota for financial aid for disability students, well, there is no special quota for financial aid. Everybody can apply for financial aid and anybody can apply for financial aid. It is totally dependent on your family's financial background. So anyone coming from a defense background or having a disability or having a single parent, this will not be a criteria to qualify you for a higher financial aid. Only your financial standing will decide what amount of financial aid you can get. So typically there is no quota in financial aid.
That brings me to the next question, which you've sort of answered, but I'll just say it anyway. Is a student of central government officers, both parents employed? I think it's an important question. So it says a child of central government officers with both parents employed, eligible for financial aid or scholarship?
Yes, you will be eligible for financial aid. So you should apply for financial aid. How much financial aid you will be eligible for, that we cannot comment right now, because for that we need to look at your family's income and other details. But yes, you should apply for financial aid. And we have a grid which we have published on the website. So you can refer to that grid, which is actually for families coming from salaried background. So that will give you some idea that how much financial aid you may qualify for.
Thanks, Chaiti. And the next one is, does the university help with flight expenses for international students? And then when is 100% need-based financial aid available? What are the requirements for it?
Jyoti, can I just take that first one before you?
Sure.
So as far as the provisions that are made for international students, we don't offer flights or visa expenses. We expect the student to bear that, even if they might be on a full financial aid waiver. So we are a little mindful of that. We do offer, a one-time, we do pick you up from the airport and we ensure that, you get to campus and we check your arrival and things like that. But the flight and visa are taken care of by the students themselves. In fact, there is a page on the website called undergraduate admissions for international students. If you look at that, you'll find we've put a lot of information that might give you an idea of just what to expect. You may not understand some things immediately, but you will need them in the first 6 months when you come. But just to give you an idea of what to expect. But to answer your question, we don't offer flight or visas in the visa expenses. And Jet, you can take the next one.
Yeah. And so a family who's having an income of less than, I would say, 5 lakhs per annum, they would essentially qualify for a full financial aid. And this 5 lakhs I'm talking about in INR. But of course, it will be dependent on other factors as well. So when you will submit your financial aid application form, there is a team who will do an analysis of your application form, and then there's a committee who will be making a decision. But typically, a family who has an income of less than 5 lakhs per annum, and this I'm talking about, say, a salaried income. So yes, if your family have a family income of less than 5 lakhs per annum in INR, then you may qualify for a full financial aid.
All right. Thank you, Jayati. Thank you so much. I have a whole cluster of questions again for Marsha coming your way. So one is, are some majors difficult or more difficult to get into? If you have an undeclared major, is it a disadvantage in the admissions process? And at the end of the 3rd semester, can we change from a BA to BSc and vice versa? That's one cluster first, Marsha.
Okay, let me just take this. We are not giving you admission into a major. We're giving you admission to the university. So you cannot submit your application form without declaring 3 preferences. So you have to pick 3 preferences in order to submit your form. So I would say pick 3 preferences that you think you possibly want to major in. Some of you will know 100% what you want to do. Some of you might be at 75%. Some of you might be like, I have no clue. But you have some interest, right? You are applying. You eventually, it's an educational institution, so you'll have to major in something. But even if you've not studied something, but you want to really get into that, you should put it down, right? And maybe you've explored it outside of school. Maybe you were a science student, but you wanted to do, and you didn't have psychology, but you wanted to do psychology, and that's something you've explored on the side on your own, and that's something you want to do in university. Please put it in, okay? There's nothing called. There's nothing called this major is difficult to get in or that major is difficult to get in. We look at the admissions process is similar for all, right? However, whatever you want to major in, we hope you have some sort of an interest and you've explored it to some sufficient degree. So some majors require mathematics. So that is probably the more difficult thing. For example, and I'll just quickly state that economics, computer science, mathematics, physics, chemistry, and biology require you to do mathematics. And if you don't have mathematics in classes 11th and 12th, it's going to be tough. We're not saying you can't apply. We're just saying it might be tough for you to get that major because you will be expected to pass a calculus course, take a calculus eligibility test, and then if you do pass that, then do the calculus course, and then have the opportunity to do the major. And there's a lot of mathematics courses. All of them are heavily quantitative, right? And particularly physics, economics, and computer science and mathematics, of course, are very quantitative. Biology and chemistry also are also moving towards a very quantitative space. Psychology as well, for that matter, but we don't have a mathematics requirement for psychology because at Ashoka we're a BSc psychology. We're not a BA psychology. We're a BA economics, but we're a BSc economics and finance. But regardless of what it is, economics is econometrics. So it's going to be a lot of calculus and a lot of other. So I would just say that if you have mathematics, I hope you like mathematics. That's important. Because even if you have mathematics, but you really struggle and you're not good at it, you may get to do the major, but you might really struggle in it. So mathematics is very important. So maybe brush up, use the summer, learn the core concepts, understand them. Those are very important aspects, but these are difficult majors. Our economics finance is a very difficult course. Our physics major is difficult. Mathematics, of course, is difficult. Of course, even in our literature courses, all of them are quite rigorous. So I wouldn't say difficult or easy, but I would say that they're all rigorous, regardless of what the major is. So there are no easy majors, right? They're all equally rigorous. So hence, you would have to, work towards that. And very quickly, you know what you mean by change from a BA to a BSc. In your third semester, you have to declare your major. The majors are already set as whether they're a BA major or a BSc major. So if you do want to do physics, you would be a BSc major. But if you want to do, or a psychology, you would be a BSc major. But if you want to do history, you would be a BA. That's the degree you'll get. You'll get a BA honors or a BSc honors, depending on the major that you actually do.
Thank you so much, Marcia. I think that is all the time we have today for the questions currently. Although there's so many, but we would really encourage you to call the helpline and also, write to us on the email given, and that would be great. So thank you so much for joining us for today's webinar. I hope you enjoyed being part of our discussion on undergraduate admissions and financial aid. We would really appreciate it if you would take a minute to share your valuable feedback with us. The link to the feedback form is provided in the chat box. Please note that the recording of this session will be available on Ashoka's YouTube channel, which I hope you're subscribed to already. In case you would like to, share it with your friends and do subscribe to the channel for more updates. Join us for the next webinar on Q&A with the admissions team on 10th April at 6 p.m. to solve your remaining queries regarding the application process. The link to register for the webinar is provided in the chat box. Before we end the session, I would once again like to inform our audience that the deadline to apply in round 3 of Ashoka's undergraduate program, this current round, is 12th of April, 2024. I would encourage students to apply now without waiting for their 12th board marks or CUET. For more information, you can write to us at ugapply@ashoka.edu.in or contact us on the number given on the screen. This brings us to the end of this session. Thank you, Marcia. Thank you, Jayati. And thank you everyone so much for joining us. Please take care and stay safe.